Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Retro Amateur and I welcome you to my little corner of the internet. Now this is a very urgent video because I just had a huge haul of hardware. It's not the oldest stuff, they are old, like 10 or so years old or even more, but it's still quite big and I'm gonna show it to you. As you might imagine, this is a non-scripted video, so my apologies for any mistakes. Let's cut to the chase. So, here is the first batch of motherboards. One thing I've noticed was that most of them have an AMD processor. And this is because these come from an internet station, and in an internet station you have to buy computers en masse, and to keep the cost down, you go with AMD because AMD is the company you go to if you want value for money. Another thing I've noticed is that most of them are from MSI. I do not know why. The exceptions are 3 Asus motherboards and 1 gigabyte. In fact, I hope this gigabyte motherboard works, because it would be a bummer if it doesn't. It would be a bummer if any of that stuff in the boxes and on the bench didn't work, because when I first got them, I didn't ask whether they were broken or not. The internet station that these belonged to closed, and I think that's why they were throwing them away, and plus they were fairly old pieces, to be honest. In any case, if this little thing works, it would be great, because it's an FM1 platform. They're not that old, and I wanted to build a computer for my father, which would be very useful. I have most of the parts. The only thing missing is the processor, and then again, these are not very expensive or hard to find. And that's just about it for this batch. I will put them aside. I will show you the next batch of motherboards, and then we will go over the graphics cards. This is the second batch of motherboards, and you can see the same motif. Mostly AMDs. There is 2 775 sockets, and there seem to be mostly MSI motherboards. This one, however, does not say what brand it is. No, it's MSI. You see the MS7297 there? The MS means that this is an MSI board. Sorry, my mistake. This one is... I have no idea what this motherboard is. This 775, it says Intel desktop board. It seems, ladies and gentlemen, that this is an Intel motherboard directly from Intel. In any case, there's an Asus, and then again all the rest of them are MSIs. So let's move on to the graphics cards. So moving on to the interesting part, to the GPUs. There are a lot of 8000 and 9000 series cards from Nvidia, like 8600, 9800, 9600. This one, I think it's a, let me see, it's a, oops, sorry. Oh, it's a 7600 GT, so not entirely from, not entirely 8 and 9, but also 7000 series. This is an 8800 GTS, quite a good mid to high range card for its time. This, I have absolutely no idea what this is, but I suspect it's either 8000 or 9000 series card. It doesn't say. This is a 38550. Good card for its time. This is the RX 3870. And it's kind of strange, because I always thought that these cards were called HD instead of RX, but I guess you wanted to make it sound a little bit more powerful. And this card, I suspect, was quite a beefy one for its time. I have absolutely no idea what this is, but I again suspect it's another 8600 or 9600 series. This is a 7900 GS card. We have a couple of 6600 cards, a 7300 card with an interesting story. I have an interesting story with the 7300 cards, and a 6200 card from Nvidia, which is pretty garbage. Even for its time it was pretty garbage. You would find it pretty much on all budget build systems, and an MX 4400. So let me tell you the story, not the story of this particular card, but the story about this card. So here is a funny story with a 7300 GT, not this one, this is a GS, I mean the 7300 in general. So I had a classmate who wanted a gaming computer because he wanted to play Gothic 3, which was then, I think it was 2007, it was new then, and it was all the rage. Of course, if you are a bit savvy, you know that Gothic 3 was a horrendously broken game and it was terribly unoptimized. So he came asking me for advice for a computer to play Gothic 3. I told him I will come up with something through the weekend because it was Friday, and I will tell him on Monday. But when Monday came, he found me and told me that, and before I was able to tell him what I came up with, he told me that he and his dad already bought a new computer to play Gothic 3. And before I was able to wish him good gaming, he told me that the game wouldn't run properly. When I asked for specifics, he told me all the general stuff about lagging, stuttering, choppy frame rates and whatnot. Fortunately, he had brought the spec sheet of the computer, and the first thing I noticed is that he bought a pre-built computer from a non-specialized store. It was basically a General electronics store that sold, not General Electric like the company. No, I mean a General Electric store which sold electronics and electric appliances. It was not specialized. In fact, computers were a very small part of that shop, and I would never buy a computer from that place. So the computer had a one core Celeron processor. In 2007, the dual core processor was already mainstream. It had 512 megabytes, and a gigabyte by 2007 standards was already quite low. 512 megabytes were not enough. And of course, we have this. Not this specific one, this is a GS, a 7300 GT. It was a multimedia card that was not made for games. I told him all of that. And basically he told me a lot, he told me some stuff about him not having any idea that prices mattered and that the more expensive computers were out for other things. Basically, he told me a lot of misconceptions he had about computers. So, this was the funny story about this card, not this specific card, I repeat, but the 7300 in general. A mediocre card. This one has a broken fan. I don't think I will even be keeping this one, I will be throwing it away. Mediocre card, has no value as a retro card, neither has any performance to speak of. Moving on to the next batch. So, as I was making this video, the same man that gave me all this stuff gave me even more. And as you can see here, it's plenty, and it's not just cards, graphics cards. There is another thing that I'm gonna show you at the end when I'm presenting you this set of rather ugly cards. Let's start from here. Another 9600 GT. This is a 9500, and I don't know if it's a GT or something else. It doesn't say. It's a pretty low power card though. I mean, you can tell by looking at it. Here we have a trio of 9500 GTs, another trio, another batch. This one looks in terrible condition because it's missing the cooler is missing the fan. This one seems to be okay. This one seems to be okay as well. I'll see what I do with them. This is a 7900 GS. This, can you guess what this is? This is a 7300 GS. Yes, another one. And I think, yeah, the fan on this one works. This is much like the other one, is 256 megabytes. It's awful. We have a duo of MX440s. This is an 80 Radeon by Manly. It doesn't say what it is. It's a VE WTV. It's a 64 megabyte card. Fairly old. We have an S3 Trio, which is a fairly early AGP card. Another AGP, another TNT card. A TNT2 M64 with 32 megabytes of memory. What have we got here? Is a 6800 GS. I'm very, let's just say I'm very excited about this card. I used to have a 6800 GT. I don't know what the differences between the GS and the GT was. This one is a PCI Express card. The one I had was AGP. That's why I couldn't like upgrade it afterwards. I mean, I bought a 3850 to upgrade my computer back then, and I guess it was enough for the time. Anyway, what we have next is this. This is a TNT. This is a TNT card. However, what's interesting is from whom this card was made. Creative Labs. Creative Labs. If you don't know, Creative Labs is the company that made the Sound Blaster. The Sound Blaster cards. And the Sound Blaster Live. They made sound cards. Up until this moment, I had absolutely no idea that they also used to make graphics cards. Anyway, here we have a dusty card, a very dusty card, very dirty card, by a company called Galaxy? What is this? Oh, it's a 6200. It's an awful card, actually. The 6200, much like its predecessor, the 5200, the FX 5200. Here we have a, let me see, another 6600 LE, 256 megabytes. And here we got this, the Frankenstein's monster, excuse me. It's a PCI card, PCI Express. Look at this hack job here. This seems to be a fan from a heatsink for a CPU. It's broken basically. And here we have the last piece. This old computer basically. With a 386 processor. Unfortunately, it didn't have a graphics card on it. I have a graphics card to put in it, but I'm very excited that I finally get to have a 386 computer. Of course, I have another one down here, another old of this kind of computer, but I don't know if this one has an old processor like a 386 or a 486. It might as well have a Pentium, for all I know. I haven't opened it yet, this one, neither did I this one, but you know, a computer called 386, you assume it has a 386. This one is more of a mystery, but I will open it on a future video, so I hope you stick around for that. So this is for this, and now I'll move to the least interesting part, some miscellaneous crap. So moving on to the few last parts, we have a Hyper PSU. Now I know that hyper PSUs are okay. They do their job and they're reliable. We have a LC Power or Power LC PSU. I know these are quite crappy. I wouldn't trust this with my computer anytime soon. Might put it on a low powered system though. It doesn't say how many watts it is. For Pentium 4 it is though. But here we have a Heck. I know Heck PSUs are okay too. This one looks to be in a fairly good condition. It feels weighty. It's a good one, I guess. I will use it probably to build another computer, but time will tell. It's 500 watts, plenty of power for a mid-range system. Hope it works and hope all of them work, so I can build a decent computer with those. So this is basically it. If you have enjoyed your time here, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. This has been Retro Amateur. Thanks for watching.